Welcome to the first IPG CarMaker installation video. This is just an introduction into IPG, and it's just how to install. We won't be going over any documentation or any basics in the GUI and how to use it, but we will be going over how to install it, get a license file, and some other important notes that we have found from our experience with IPG. That sounds simple, but there is a license involved that is a bit hard to get. I've made a PDF we'll be going over, and let's see how we go. So what is very important is that this license application should be started as early as possible. It's the first thing that should be done before even downloading the software. This can, as what I said, up to 6 weeks due to response time of IPG Surface. It can take shorter, but it can be 6 weeks. So if you're the team leader of the FSEE team, it is recommended that you install this in the summer holidays or the winter before the semester starts. It will increase the speed at which people can learn the software, and instead of waiting a few weeks in the semester, which is a bit frustrating. And this is from our experience, the 2020 team. We had several weeks of just waiting for licenses. So let's go into that, but it is very important. If this doesn't happen, unfortunately, and it may not happen, please do so in week 1, week 2, get it done, get it finished. It will greatly increase your chances of actually getting somewhere in the first semester, not having to work through later on. Okay, so the first step is requesting your license. So we go through the link here, and here you have the IPG Automotive website. Give in your details. Yes, and once you send all your details, you'll have to wait for your IPG license. The objective would be your SEP project, so your software engineering project, or whatever bachelor thesis you're working on. Make sure that you click the right OS. Also important to note that the OS you pick should be the same for each team member using IPG, as it can get complicated when you're sharing the same software and sharing or pulling via Git. Yep. Make sure you have the right MAC address, and make sure all your information is true and valid. Message isn't really included, but yeah, just fill that out and click submit, and then you'll have to get to the next step, which is really just waiting for a response. So after once that's submitted, you'll have to wait. It might take again up to 2 to 3 weeks before you get a representative. After that, things do end up being a lot faster. During this step, it is, as I said here, go to part 2, as can be seen up here. Part 2 is download and install while you're waiting. It'll just speed things up for you. Once you get a response, this is when you can actually ask for a longer term license, and this is based on our experience of finding that the best license you can get is by promising that you will be giving any work documentation, basically providing your thesis to IPG and to let them use whatever works inside. You're not giving them exclusive rights, you're just allowing them to use what you have made in the year of your software engineering project. Again, this is a much better term license, because the test license that was initially, and I should have said this earlier, is only a 6-week license. But they do give you a chance to apply for a longer term license, and it is a absolute must. The 6 week is not enough, nowhere near enough, and it will cause problems down the line. Okay, and then we will go into a contract that you'll be asked to form out, and this will be talking about what you need to sign and what is provided in that contract. Here is an example of this contract here. The company is a German company, so there's a German side. Don't worry about that. The exact same translations here on the left. So following, you will need the nature of your thesis, should be described here. Also, you'll need signature for the person and supervisors, and your several supervisors, if you have them, should be also written here. Okay. Now, another important note is this is a special agreement I spoke of before. Is allocation of your student final thesis internship. You will need to provide a complete copy of the report and an English translation, which that's fine for I imagine for anyone listening to this tutorial. Okay, so this is the contract. You will probably be getting an updated contract. It won't be the same, but a sample will be provided within the zip file. So Once you get that contract, because you'll have to wait for a response, you will have to fill out and sign that, as I showed you, and then you will actually receive a license file. The license file will look something like one of the two. Here on the right hand side is our Linux machine, and here on the left hand side is for our Windows machine. Yes, and so we can see that these are each of the products that will be available to us. This is just an example. Okay, so that's the end. And here, this is the actual MAC address for the Linux machine, and the license number is related to that. Okay, now on to the more exciting part: download and install. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is make sure that you've registered. Just give your details there. Recommended to give your student email. Important to note that this registration can take a while to be confirmed. You will not be able to log in straight away. This is an experience some of the members have had, and hopefully it is improved by the time you've seen this video. Once you've submitted that, then you log in. We're going to log into with my account. Okay, so we go then to support, and then we go to installation files, and this is the versions of IPG. The 2020 team used 8.1.1 and 8.1.2. You'll want to go to Office and whichever OS you want. Again, remember, your whole team should have the exact same OS. Do not have different members having different OSs using the software. The Windows software seems to be more stable than the Linux, from our experience. So you go on to save that file. Okay, so we should have CarMaker downloaded now, and now we're going to install it. So you should have it in your downloads folder. We've chosen 8.1.2. Just double click the IPG install. Okay, just go through the motions. This is where you'll have your IPG installed. Alright, so you will need all of these products. You do not need TruckMaker or Motorcycle Maker if you are only using cars and modeling cars and simulating those, okay? You will need IPG Graph, Control, and MSys MGW. Okay. Yep, and just agree to that. Alright, we're going to install, import information, read what you want. Okay, so that's installed, installing, and we're going to wait until that. Now let's get back once that's done. Yeah, and lastly, what you want to do then is run IPG CarMaker. So here we just go to CarMaker. Of course. So here's what happens when we don't have the license file actually in the folder. So what do we do here? So go into your wherever you download that license file. I will just save it straight in. You want to go to the IPG app directory and save it into the etc file, etc folder. Yep, and just save it there. Wonderful. Okay, so now once we do CarMaker again, it should now work. So go to IPG, CarMaker. Wonderful. We now have CarMaker running on our Windows machine. It's fantastic. Now you can get started. The next tutorial videos will be going over what the different GUIs that we have involved in this. Some basic stuff, the documentation, that's very important, and yeah. Lastly, and this is more some things to note as important. You can also get a different kind of license via a Formula CarMaker program, which makes sense for the FSAE team. However, there has been problems in the past, and it also takes a little bit more collaboration with each member, and instead of just getting the license by yourself. So you'll need the information of the team, the registering person, that's you, team leader, and then two licenses, two people for these two licenses. Yep, and that can be the same as the registering person, and then your supervisor, your advisory professor. It is important to note that this is a better option if planned properly. However, it does take time, and I think Swinburne already have these license files, and they are connected to a machine in the Swinburne University. So you can change your license and get it sent and changed so it matches a different computer, with a different MAC address. And that's going into the last point here, which is license troubleshooting and support. You can email these guys here at license@ipg-automotive.com, and often common problems you have are if your MAC address is actually changed, which can happen to some computers, or your license file is in the wrong directory. These are things hopefully you can figure yourself out, but the license team are very helpful in addressing it step by step what you need to do in case you've missed something. They are also really helpful, as I said, at changing your license. Maybe I can show you here. Here's when I had to change my Linux machine to my Windows machine. It did not seem to work. I asked for a new license, and within the next day they actually replied. So the license team is pretty responsive as of 2020, the end of 2020, and is doing a pretty good job. Do note also, license files can expire, so that's a big thing. Make sure it's not expired, and you can talk to the license team with anything in regards to that. Okay, so that's the end of this video. I hope it was helpful and not too heavy for you guys. Again, I'm not sure if I stressed enough, this first step of getting the license will take the longest, and even though I went through it very quickly here, you could be ended up stuck on this part for 6 weeks at the max before you get to actually adding the license file into the download that you've made. So that's why it's really important, if anyone sees this video or sees this document, they get these licenses early. Get them as early as possible. It will help a lot of people down the line, and make things a lot easier for a lot of people. Okay, that's everything from me. Okay, we'll see you in the next tutorial video. We'll be going over some documentation and the basic GUIs. Thanks.